Trust your gut. Listen to your heart. Follow your intuition. Easier said than done, right? You and I both know that making decisions is not always that easy. So if you are currently in the process of finding or making a decision and you don't really know where to start and you are looking for more of a structured approach, I'm glad that you're watching this video today, because in today's video I want to share with you the approach that I take when I have to make a difficult decision. So let's get started. Hi and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Julia Arndt and I'm a peak performance coach and stress management trainer. If you are a busy professional and you're looking for ways to de-stress, take better care of yourself, manage your time and create different productivity systems, then you are absolutely right here and I'm super excited to have you. If you are interested to learn more about all of these different things, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out all the other videos that I have created for you. Without further ado now, I want to jump into the first step that you can take if you are making a difficult decision. And the first step is to clarify your goal and your values. What do I mean by that? First of all, when you have to make a difficult decision, it can be really helpful to get really clear on what kind of decision do you actually need to make and what is the goal about this decision. So take a piece of paper and a pen and just simply write down these two things. So what is the decision that you have to make and what is the goal behind that decision? That can be super incredibly insightful because sometimes we feel so overwhelmed by all of the things that are going on that it is really difficult to find kind of a starting point, and that is the starting point. Another really good thing to do is to identify your values. Values are basically the North Star to your decision making because they give you insights into what is important for you, what is aligned with you personally, and what is not. I've actually just recently done this exercise again because I was applying for a business coach and it was such an incredibly powerful and helpful exercise for me. So I really encourage you to do that as well. And if you need a starting point for that one, there is a video on my YouTube channel about how to identify your values. So make sure that you're checking that one out. In the second step, I would like you to seek information and gather different perspectives. So now that you are clear on what decision you have to make and what kind of a goal is behind that, I want you to start to brainstorm all different possible options of how you can respond to this decision. And the first two things that might come up for you are, well, I can either say yes to this thing or I can say no to this thing. And maybe that keeps you from really going forward because you don't want to either say yes to this thing nor no. So if you are just sitting down for a moment and you reflect on, okay, besides yes and no, what are things in the middle that you can potentially also make a decision on? For example, a possible decision could be that you need more time, that you want to speak to more people, that you want to gather more information, that you want to seek other support or insight, right? Those are all options. Or it could also be that you want to postpone this decision that you have to make at the moment, and maybe at the moment it doesn't seem like it's the right thing to do, so maybe it's actually a no for right now, but it doesn't have to mean that it is no forever. So those are all really helpful insights. And when it comes to brainstorming, don't limit yourself from the very beginning on what is possible and what is not possible. Brainstorming can be really powerful when you give yourself the freedom to just write down all the different options that are out there, without limiting you and without already putting that filter on of, is that what you want, is that what you don't want, is that what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and so on, okay? So seek information and make sure that you brainstorm. And the second part of the second step is to gather information as well. So like I said already in that brainstorming option part, is that potentially, possibly, you want to speak to more people and gather more information in order to make a sound decision. And in the second step, I'd like you to think about who can you potentially talk to? Who can advise you in this area? Maybe someone that has experience in this space or someone that you really trust and that you really know that can ask you the right questions. So gather information in that way. First of all, make sure that you create maybe a short list of 3 to 5 people that can help you with more insight, and then obviously make sure that you're reaching out to these people and that you talk to them in order to help you find the right decision for yourself. Okay then, so now that you have all of that information, you have already a lot of information hopefully on your piece of paper, I want you to think about weighing the options. And that's pretty simple. I want you to actually take 2 options, and the 2 options maybe that seem the most reasonable for you, and it can be the option of I say yes to this or I say no to this. And I want you to really sit down. This is super important. Sit down and write these things down. Oh my god, I can't say it enough, and I have these conversations with clients all the time because we oftentimes think we can make this decision in our heads, and we just get super overwhelmed, and then we get distracted, and we have all of this kind of noise that is inside of our head. But I promise you, when you are sitting down and when you are actually writing down what is important for you and what are the advantages and disadvantages for each of these options, things will get a lot more clear. Again, I've done this many times with clients, and they found this exercise incredibly simple and yet incredibly powerful because they've been trying to make that decision in their minds and it was just sheerly not possible. So in this 3rd step, I'm going to repeat myself one more time. I want you now to weigh the options, and I want you to create a really clear list of advantages and disadvantages of whatever it is that you're trying to weigh. And I'm going to give you a specific example to make it even more clear. Let's say, for example, you're making the decision if you should take on that next job or not. Should you stay in your job or should you leave, right? So then I want you to, in this scenario, write down what are the advantages of taking on the new job, what are the disadvantages of taking on the new job, and obviously the same for advantages for staying in your current job and disadvantages of staying in your current job. And that will bring you already a lot of insight into how does that even make you feel when you're writing these things down. And that is something super important. We talked a little bit about intuition at the beginning of the video, but obviously there will be some feelings that come up for you as you're going through this exercise as well. The last thing that I want you to think about in this particular step as well is to think about how to prioritize these. So let's say, for example, you have now 4 small lists, right? Advantages and disadvantages for option A and advantages and disadvantages for option B. Now that you have all of that, you can look at the list, and if you have also identified your values, then you can look at prioritizing this list. And you can, for example, highlight with a simple highlighter what is actually important for you and what makes you feel really happy, what makes you feel really accomplished, and what is not as important, right? So prioritization is actually a super important step in this weighing process as well, in order to not just have everything out on paper, but also to start prioritizing things, highlighting what is important for you and what is not important for you. I promise you that you're really close to making a decision now. So in the next step, in step number 4, I want you to take a look at past experiences of yourself and potentially also people around you. And I'd like you to balance rationality with intentionality. This is super important. Let me explain. So first of all, you might already get a little bit clearer on in what kind of direction you are going, right? Maybe you already have a feeling, I might go in this way or this direction, maybe I'm going this, maybe you're still kind of in between the two. So let's take a look at maybe what is holding you back from making decision A or decision B. So it can be really helpful to think about past experiences that might you feel scared or afraid of making that particular decision, right? Maybe you have a hard time trusting yourself, or you have a hard time to really feel confident about yourself in certain areas. And so it can be really helpful to create awareness around that and to be like, I know why this is so difficult for me because in the past XYZ happened, and that's why today I am more afraid of making this decision. Maybe in the past you made a decision similar to that one and it turned out to be the wrong decision, and now you don't really trust yourself anymore. Very simple, right? We've all had those kind of experiences in the past, and those obviously influence us on how we are making decisions today. So that is a really important thing to do. So ask yourself the question, why am I afraid to go with option A? Why am I afraid to go with option B? What is coming up for me? What are the fears? What are the insights that I can gather from that? And again, it might not be your own experience. It might be someone in your close environment, maybe a friend or a family member that you have seen make a particular decision and fail with that decision. And that also obviously impacts and influences you, maybe subconsciously or even unconsciously, which is why now we're shining a little bit of light onto that particular area. And then in the second step here, in this fourth part, I want you to think about balancing your intuition and your rationality, right? What do I mean by that? Well, you know, we can be as rational as we want. We are all human beings, and we are impacted obviously by our thoughts and by our feelings and our emotions and our experiences and our behaviors and our actions and all of these different things. And so you want to make sure that you're obviously making a decision that feels good for you. You don't want to make a decision that feels absolutely where your whole internal things just kind of start to cringe and you feel not good about that decision. That's not probably the right decision then. But as I mentioned, it can be really helpful to shine some light onto why do you feel this way, to work through that, because then it might be easier for you to make that decision. Oftentimes, when we are getting ourselves out of our comfort zone, right? When we are trying to make a decision that is very new to us, something that we've never done before, then obviously that plays a role as well. So you need to check in with yourself and ask yourself, well, do I feel super mega out of my comfort zone? And that is where that fear and that discomfort is coming from, or is it something else? So again, you see, there's a complex kind of structure around that decision-making process, but I promise you, if you just take 1 hour today as you are watching this video and you are answering these different questions, you will feel so much clearer at the end of this process, okay? And that brings me to the last step, which is obviously step number 5, make the decision and move forward. Yes, at some point you just have to make a decision, and it is important to note, and this is something, you know, especially as we are going through changes sometimes that is hard to realize, but only if you start to make a decision, things will start to move forward. And maybe it helps you to think about it this way. This decision that you're making right now is not the decision for the rest of your life, but it is a decision that will bring you to the next step, to the next level, to the next point, maybe to the next crossroads in the road. And only once you've made that decision, you sometimes know if it was the right decision or the wrong decision. But if you never make this decision in the first place, you will never know what's happening. So see this not as the huge milestone and the biggest decision in your life, and more like this is the next step in this beautiful journey that you're going through. And that's all that it is, right? And because you're making this decision, you are actually moving forward. Then you can see what is right, was it wrong, what can you learn from this? But all of these different decisions are just part of the process of learning and growing and getting better. So I wish you really good luck with this decision. If you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to leave me a comment down below and let me know how you feel after watching this video. And I truly hope to see you in one of the next ones. So until then, take good care of yourself and talk to you soon.